If you have an expanding waistline, a belly that is growing bigger by the year, a dad bod, it is absolutely imperative that you don't accept this. As a high-performing man who's achieved a lot in other areas of life, you cannot accept this. You must own the situation and understand what it means, because it is an absolutely bizarre situation we're in. Toxic modern mainstream culture has kind of normalized this, and millions upon millions of people have simply accepted that they get the dad bod. This is not going to be you. You are here because you want that magnetic edge. You want to take things to the next level. This is the channel for that. And for anybody who is interested in getting more tips and advice on how to take yourself to the next level as a high-performing man, get yourself in better shape, increase your energy levels, and have a sense of more purpose every single day, then this channel is for you. Make sure you've signed up for my free newsletter down below. But let me explain why the dad bod is not a term of endearment as it's become. It's actually very dangerous, because that excessive body fat as the belly expands means invariably that inside there is a lot of inflammation going on, a lot of insulin resistance. And I'll talk about this topic much more, because insulin resistance is what you absolutely need to work on reversing. But all of that inflammation will also affect your mental health as well. You won't have the same sense of clarity that you would if you were in shape. You won't be optimizing your performance in every other way imaginable. So that big belly is your enemy, and you need to work on becoming healthier. You cannot accept this any longer. So you will initiate a plan to reverse this situation. It's not going to happen overnight, but you will do so naturally over time. And you will be surprised how in weeks that belly can reverse and the fat can shred away. Now, there's many different aspects to this. Of course, exercise comes into it, but I'm going to focus in this video on the diet you need and the mindset towards nutrition, because it's very likely that in order to get that belly, you've had some suboptimal habits. This didn't just happen. It happened over years of you neglecting your health and putting other things first, when actually your health should be first. So let's talk about some key principles here. Number one, I would like you to immediately recognize the scale of the situation. I want you to have a target in mind for what you want your waist circumference to get down to. And I want you to know what your body fat percentage is. There are a lot of scales out there, electronic scales, which can connect to your smartphone, but know what your body fat percentage is. And then you can work out whether you are in an overweight range, an obese range. What exactly is the scale of the problem? Because you need to reverse this ASAP, and you're going to do it naturally. Okay, then we have what you're eating, because it's highly likely that you've got into some bad habits with the three big things that are going to bring anybody down: sugars, refined carbohydrates, and processed foods. Now, it's a sad fact of life that 80 to 90% of everything in grocery stores is complete and utter junk. Look at ingredient labels. By the way, that's another habit you're going to get into, reading ingredient labels. There is no excuse for you to routinely be putting junk into yourself without knowing exactly what it is. Now, of course, you can't look at ingredients every time you go out to eat, but most of the time, I want you to have this mindset shift. You will never again put anything into your grocery cart until you've looked at the ingredient labels. And if it looks like there's a list of chemical concoctions there, things that you don't recognize, you will not consume it. Those are processed foods. You will ideally cook from scratch right from the beginning with the best quality foods. You will add the seasonings, the spices, the herbs, etc. And you will strive to make most of your meals real food. There are so many things that can bring you down. Even bread. I mean, most bread nowadays, you look at the ingredient labels and it's got oil and other things in it, when bread should actually only have 4 or 5 ingredients. All of these things are predisposing you to increased calories, weight gain, inflammation. So cut back on the processed foods, cut way back on the sugars. Hopefully you know what foods contain sugars, but remember, it's very hidden in many processed foods. And as a rule, most people consume way too many carbs. So bread, the wraps, the rice, the pasta. Carbohydrates will inevitably lead to weight gain if you're consuming too many. So make a conscious effort to cut back on the portions. I'm not saying that you need to go keto, 0 carbs, but for most people out there who have a big belly, they are consuming too many carbs. So those are the first 3 things I want you to cut back on: carbs, sugars, processed foods. Then I want you to optimize protein intake. Most people don't get enough protein. How much protein should you be aiming for? Well, a bare minimum is 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. Minimum. But ideally, I want you to be getting between 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So as an example, someone who's 80 kilograms should be getting in a bare minimum of 80 grams. It really should be above 100 grams if there's no contraindication to you consuming natural sources of protein. Ideally, when you have a meal, you want half of the plate to be protein, the other half to be antioxidants. Antioxidants are the molecules that help to neutralize free radicals within your body. You've probably heard of antioxidants. So they are found in the colorful vegetables and fruits. So if you could have a plate, half protein, half colorful vegetables, that would be ideal. Keep it simple. You can have some carbohydrates. Again, I'm not saying you need to go to zero, but that is the ideal. And even if you snack, by the way, you should cut way back on snacking. You want to have in your mind, see, this is a mindset shift if you don't already have it. Every time you snack, optimize protein. So instead of going for that bag of chips, go for the Greek yogurt, add some nuts and blueberries to it. Blueberries, by the way, are my absolute favorite superfood. I eat them every single day. Cup of blueberries, they are extremely high in antioxidants. Studies have showed an array of health benefits. 1 cup of blueberries will frequently contain more antioxidants than 5 whole servings of fruits and vegetables. So we've got protein, antioxidants, cutting back on those 3 bad things, the processed food, sugars, and the refined carbohydrates. Next up, I want you to institute some form of time-restricted eating, also known as intermittent fasting. So the problem with having excessive belly fat is that it nearly always means that you've got insulin resistance. And I'll make a whole other video on this topic. But basically, for years, your insulin levels have been spiking. So every time you eat, you will release insulin, especially if you're consuming carbs and sugars, because the insulin lowers the blood sugar levels. Remember, carbs are converted into sugar. So the problem with modern day living is that people have these constant insulin spikes during the day. Whereas a few decades ago, your grandparents and great-grandparents' generations didn't have these constant insulin spikes. So people become insulin resistant. And the problem with this is that insulin is a fat storage hormone. It's also associated with inflammation. So if you have more insulin circulating in you, then that is going to mean that you're insulin resistant, you're prone to gaining fat. And the great thing about fasting, and this works even for people who don't need to lose body fat, studies have shown that it's really good for your metabolism, but especially for people who want to lose weight, it can be a game changer. So if you only eat between a 6 to 8 hour window during the day, that means that your insulin levels are naturally low for 16 to 18 hours. Not as difficult as it seems to have a time-restricted eating regimen, but you have to institute it slowly. So it can really work wonders for fat loss, because the lower your insulin levels are, the more you will lose body fat. Then I want you to track diligently what you eat. There are a lot of apps out there, free apps like MyFitnessPal. You can use the free version. In a matter of seconds, you can monitor what you eat every day. And it is an absolute eye-opener for many people to realize just how many calories they're eating. If fat loss is the goal, I would really advise that you track what you eat every day. You review it at the end of the day. How many calories did you take in? What were your macros? Did you get to your protein goal? And I'm not saying you need to do this forever, but it's actually quite addictive once you start doing it, especially if you're losing fat and you get motivated. It's like the opposite of a vicious circle. You start wanting to do it more because you didn't realize all of the bad habits you were in with the junk food, the stress and emotional eating. You were not doing the basic things right. But those would be the core aspects of a diet, a nutrition regimen that will help to reverse your big belly. But as a high-performing man, you don't want to be in this situation. You don't want to be in photos for years and years. Your children will have photos of you looking like you have a big belly. You want to be in the best possible shape. Life is short. And I would urge you to not fall for the modern mainstream narrative that it's normal for men of a certain age who are super busy to get a dad bod absolutely not. That's not going to be you. Please institute a plan to naturally reverse this. If you're in this situation, I've worked with people who within a few weeks, the fat is shredding off and they're just so happy, and they can also think better because physical and mental health are intrinsically intertwined. So reversing your big belly is the core of your journey towards becoming a better man, the man you want to be, and achieving your other goals in life as well. Thank you for watching. Again, if you haven't signed up for my free newsletter, my Magnetic Edge newsletter, if you're a high-performing man who wants to take things to the next level, links down below in the description. We'll speak again in the next video.